I've had too many people say, well, there's too many white girls in their 30s for me to make it. I think it's the idea that you have to understand that you yourself are unique. And you need to embrace that.
Welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. We are going to dive into acting insights, meet industry pros, and master the business. Don't forget to subscribe and share. We're keeping you behind the scenes and ahead of the game. As you know, this episode is brought to you by Get Scene Studios, and we want to invite you to one of our challenges that we love to start the new year with. It is called the Booked It Challenge. It's only $28. It starts on February 5th. It's 4 weeks, everyone. And each week we go over specific strategy to help you get more auditions. Then we give you specific tactics to implement into your auditions to help your auditions stand out in a big way. And then we also bring in a casting director to look over auditions so we can learn from those industry pros. So everyone, this is an incredible challenge to help you grow in a big way and also really give you momentum to have the best acting year of your journey. So we can't wait to help you do that. You can also save $5 by using the promo code unscripted. So everyone, it's already $28. Make it even cheaper and more affordable than that. So be sure to sign up, everyone, for our Booked It Challenge starting on February 5th. Now enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. I'm excited for this one. It is going to be a good one, so get ready, everyone. But to start, I got to do a shout out to one of our awesome reviewers, one of our listeners that left us a review. Thank you so much to those of you that are doing that. It really does help the podcast in a really big way. And I honestly just love hearing your thoughts and your reviews on how this podcast is really helping your journey. So keep them coming, everyone. But shout out to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pronounce it, so I just got to spell it, I think. It's JHXTKPOPKN. Capitalized the resource for any actor in or curious about the Southeast industry. Truly your one-stop shop. Thank you for that review. I appreciate it, and I can't agree more. Well, everyone, let's get started. We have an incredible actor here with us today. It is the incredible, the 100+ credit man himself, Charles Green. What's up, man? How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Jesse. This is great. Now, I just want to say your podcast is just an amazing tool for Southeast actors.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And when I developed it, I really wanted it to be exactly that. And I was like, how can I put this together in a way that really creates conversations that I feel like people aren't having with our incredible Southeast market? So I appreciate it. Thank you.
And I not only have I learned so much, it also reinforces that I know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah. And that's such a good point, though, because no matter how experienced you are, you can still have that self-doubt. And so sometimes you do just need the reinforcement of all right, I'm on the right track.
Exactly.
So Charles, you, like I said, you have so many credits, and we'll jump into them a little bit later. But you, many years ago, you were an actor. I mean, one of your credits is Golden Girls.
Yes, and I still get residuals for it.
Yeah, yes. And so you were an actor many years ago, but then you kind of switched gears. You went into health public relations for I think 23 years, something like that.
Yeah,
kind
23.
Of put 23 years and put your acting career on hold. Why did you do that? Because it seems like you were booking even when you were much younger. And so why the pause?
Well, I'm glad you thought that I was booking a lot. I didn't think I was. I got my MFA, and I hit the ground running. Went to Los Angeles, thinking they're going to discover me. They're going to like me. And in fact, I actually booked pretty quickly and got an agent pretty quickly as well, both theatrically and commercially. So I thought, okay, this is it. I'm on a roll. But in both cases, these agents wanted to stereotype me. First off, they said to me, oh, Los Angeles is too big. Yeah, there's too many people here. And I said, yeah, but I come from a repertory background. I could do a variety of roles. They said, no, we're going to only submit you for business suited nerds with glasses. With glasses. So even though I took a variety of headshots, they went, nope. Young business suited nerd with
They're
glasses.
like, only this headshot is the one we want.
Because LA is too big, so we got to pigeonhole you. So that resulted in about, 6 or 7 auditions a year.
Wow. And so that's so interesting. And so did you think like I'll change representation or you did do that or what did you try to fight that thought process within that stereotype and like, no, I can do more. I'm much more talented than business suited glasses nerd.
Right. Well, I don't have many regrets in my life, but I think that was the one regret that I wasn't more aggressive with my agents or that I didn't switch agents. I think I was thinking this is Los Angeles. I'm too afraid that if I go somewhere else, I'm not going to be able to find another agent or it's going to be the same old, same old. And, with your Get Seen Working Actors mentorship, you teach that, which is great about if it ain't working,
right?
Find another agent. I needed you back then, actually. I don't even think you were born yet.
Yeah, maybe, almost, yeah. So then how did you find your way into then what you ended up doing? Was that just because you're like 7 auditions isn't going to cut it? I need to make money. Like what made you say like, and did you think I'm going to stop this? Like, I don't like this industry, or did you think I'm going to put it on hold, or what was your thought process on then pivoting essentially?
Well, pretty much I pounded the pavement for about 8 years, and it just wasn't satisfying to me anymore. And I sort of had a FU to the entertainment industry. Well, if you're not going to accept me, I'm going to go find something else to do.
Right.
Because that's just the way I work. And so I realized that public relations was something that I could do very well. I knew what was going on in the world. I was a very good writer. I was creative. And so suddenly I had this healthcare public relations career that was just taking off. In fact, within 2 years, I got from the Public Relations Society of America the Young Professional Award.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's because I was motivated to do this as an FU to the entertainment industry. It motivated me.
Yeah.
Now the problem there is I was depressed. I was really depressed. I felt like, a failure for a couple of years. It was really rough on me. I should say I was rough on myself. But I did what I had to do. And, now I look back and I go, I wish I could tell my younger self, it's okay. Just have patience.
Yeah.
Everything's going to work out.
So you were feeling like a failure even when you were successful in the other thing.
No, well, I did feel successful in that, although I have to admit I always felt sort of an imposter.
Right. It's funny, your agent, Jacob Lawson over at Privilege, he brings up how when he got into the industry, he kind of had this imposter syndrome. So I think so many of us at times put that label on ourselves. And I think it's so silly because it starts off as this imposter syndrome, right? But then as you continue to do it, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got this. And so it's like, why can't we start there? Mm-hmm. Why can't we start at, I got this?
Right.
As opposed to, I don't belong here.
Right.
How did I get here? Someone made a mistake.
Right. And any second somebody's going to go, you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
Why are you in this business?
Yeah, it's that negative self-talk that just every single one of us, that we put that voice in our head somehow. And so, I think if we just bring awareness to it, then we know, all right, I just got to hit that mute button.
Exactly.
So you're doing this other thing. Did you do you're doing the public relations health. Did you do anything to kind of satisfy the actor bug inside of you, or did you really kind of put that completely on hold?
Well, yeah, for about 7 years, because I was also part of a repertory company in Los Angeles, and I even put that on hold. I mean, just the what happened to me in the entertainment industry just totally made me want to not do anything, even theater acting. And, I have an MFA. Theater is my background. But around 95, about 7 or 8 years later, I finally got back into theater. And that I realized that I really had a love for acting.
Essentially the industry made you like angry with it.
Yes.
How do you think if you went about that differently, your career would be different now? Like, do you think that fueled you for where you're at now? Or like, I certainly never want anyone to think that like we should live in regret by any means, right?
I agree.
But I'm like, do you like that you were angry with it? Or you're like, the anger didn't serve me at all?
The only thing that anger did was made me a really good public relations person.
Okay, yeah.
To win awards and move on up to finally CDC recruited me to handle their major public awareness campaigns on cancer. So
Wow.
So it is a success story in itself, and it was creative in itself. I did enjoy the work. I think also in the back of my mind, if I remember that far back, was that, okay, I'm just going to make a lot of money, good investments, and then when I retire, I'll go back to Los Angeles and I can have some fun and not worry about it being a job. Because I think that was the other thing, Jesse, that was the challenge. I went there like, this is going to be my job.
Mm-hmm.
So every audition was, this is going to be my job. This is how I'm going to make money. Rather than having fun, which I should have done.
Yeah, right. Having fun right from the start. That's such a great aha, Charles. Like, yeah, you're like, I'm going to go make all this money so then I can go have fun. When like, really, yeah, you could have just been, why weren't you having fun right from the start? That's such a good point.
Well,
and I think so many people fall victim to that.
I think you have to know yourself. For me, security is really important. I think probably it's because both my parents came from the Depression era.
Mm-hmm.
So to have that money in the bank, to me, is a sense of security. So I understand why I did it now.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, you say security is really important to me. I mean, I think security is probably, important to everybody to some degree. Maybe it's a little higher on the bar than others, but I think, we all need to feel, I think maybe a bit relieved when it comes to money and not be stressed about bills. So I think all of that is important. So with you kind of getting that under control, do you have any advice for somebody else that maybe is in a similar circumstance or situation as you? Either like, hey, it's okay to maybe take a pause, or that this is what I could have done differently back then to actually be able to juggle both.
Right. I would say don't do anything through anger like I did. Look at your options. As you said, maybe you need a new agent. Maybe you do need to take some time off. Perhaps you had a baby. So I think you just have to go with your instincts.
Yeah, definitely. And so what spawned the, I'm going to come back to this, I'm going to do it? Because, you had the anger there that's like, I'm going to show you. And so then, like you said, about 7-8 years ago, you're like, I'm going to come back to this. Like, was it you're just missing it so much, or you just needed a change, or what was it?
Well, getting back to the idea that I was going to have this stockpile of money, retire, and then go back to LA and have fun and not have to worry about security. Well, in 2013, I was still at CDC, and that's when I started noticing, wait a minute, Hollywood's come here.
Yeah.
I maybe don't have to leave Atlanta, which I love here. So I took this class, a TV film class, just to get myself back into the groove. I was auditing it, and the teacher was dividing all the actors up into pairs, giving them a 2-page script, go away for 15 minutes, come back with it, memorize, and do it. They were one person short. I jumped up. I'm auditing.
Yeah.
I said, sure, I'll do it. I did that. I came and sat back down, and then I got a tap on my shoulder, and somebody carded me for privileged talent.
No way.
So I went, okay, well then maybe I should start now. And I was so naive. So when I had my meeting with Privilege, first off, the one thing I said to him, I said I was stereotyped in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, I bet you were like coming in hot.
Yeah, I was coming in hot now. I was like, no stereotyping.
Yeah.
And he said, absolutely not. Variety of headshots, that's great. And what was the second thing? I was going to tell you something else.
Well, I mean, this is crazy to me. You were like, let me just like put my feet in just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Let me and I was so naive that I first turned down Privilege. I said, I don't have time to drive to auditions all over the place. And they went, oh, no. They don't do that here. It's all self-tapes. I went, I'm in. I could juggle the CDC job and do this, which I did for 4 years.
Yeah.
Before I finally left CDC in 2017 to concentrate 100% on acting.
So with the self-tape thing, you didn't even know self-tapes existed.
Mm-mm.
How were you able to not let that be an obstacle for you? Because I feel like somebody that doesn't even know what it is, right? They could be like, oh, that almost is scarier. Like, I'd rather drive to the auditions because I know how to drive. I don't know how to get to I don't know how to self-tape. I don't know how to do that. How are you just like, all right, I'm in. I'll figure the self-tape thing out?
Well, I have to admit, the first folks I taped with were very good, very gentle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was intimidating at first to have the camera there and then just have a reader. And it just, the whole environment was rather strange. But surprisingly, within 2 months of being with Privilege, I booked my first role.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was opposite Anthony Hopkins with a one-on-one. So,
Man.
So I was like, okay.
Charles Green is back.
I guess I got that self-taping thing down.
That is incredible. That is incredible. I mean, one, I just love that the thought process was, and I think this is so valuable for so many, is that the plan was, I'm going to get the money and I'm gonna go back to LA, have some fun. And then you were flexible to, well, actually, maybe I don't have to leave. Maybe I can just do it here. And you changed the plan.
Yes, I did.
And can you talk about how change? I guess there's two different ways to look at this, right? Sometimes we need to stick to the plan. Sometimes it gets tough and we need to stick to the plan. But then other times it's okay to be flexible. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about kind of your thought process and how you were like, yeah, like I'm gonna change the plan. I'm gonna start now, or I'm gonna just put my foot in. And every single sign showed you that you made the right decision.
Right.
But prior to that, you didn't know. It was a big question mark.
Yeah, it was a big question mark, and like I said, I was just dipping my toe into it, summer 2013, with the notion that, well, I'll just keep working at CDC, but that's where the cash is.
Yeah.
And so that's, I still looked at it as like, let me just kind of dip my toe into this. And I didn't know it was going to take off the way it took off till finally I actually had to leave CDC because it was difficult to balance both.
Really? What was the plan with the CDC? Were you planning to be there for another 5 years or however many years, and you just decided I'll stop now?
Yeah, I retired early. And actually, I was still going. It was my financial advisor that said, Charles, you have enough money. just retire and enjoy acting. Enjoy what you want to do. So I didn't make the decision. It was my financial advisor who had to point it out and go,
wow.
Do it.
Nice job, financial advisor.
Yes.
Nice job. So yeah, I mean, you have over 100 appearances on film and TV. And I looked at your IMDb prior to this interview, and I thought I knew this already, but I mean, like, more than half of them are over the last like 5 years. How are you able to book so consistently, do you think?
I think I do good work. I'm prepared. When I go into an audition, or I should say self-tape, or even a callback, one of the things I think about is I know how much that Southeast casting directors are trying to show New York and LA producers the talent that's here. So when I go in, I think of them and how I want to make them look good. And when you suddenly switch something from me to we, it makes quite a difference in your auditions.
That is very powerful, and I cannot agree with you more. Can you talk a little bit more? Because I'm like, the first couple things you're like, well, I do good work. I prepare. I think anyone listening is like, I do that. So, but I do think the me to we, is there a thought process within the preparation that you go through, or can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on your thought process? Because I think it sounds good. But if I'm just going to go tape an audition right now, how do I do that?
Okay. Well, yeah, you're right. The me to we is basically once you're self-taping or you're in the audition room. You just want me to talk about my process?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say I get some sides.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, you don't get the script. Mm-hmm. So you're going on your own here. And I will read it first all the way through like a novel. Because when you read a novel, you start visualizing things. Why can't sides be the exact same way? And so just read it as a novel, see what kind of visualizations come into your mind. Read it a couple of times, and then you'll start to realize, where is this character within these sides? What's his motivation, his or her motivation? And then I just read it a couple of times, and if it's a character like a doctor or somebody that was alive at one time or is alive now, I love to do research. I actually do a lot of research, more than I even work on the script itself.
Really?
Yeah, because once I have all that in place, it just is so easy to memorize it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What kind of research do you do? Because I feel like even myself, if I get some sides, and let's just say it's like kind of like a basic like lawyer role maybe, like I might look at that and be like, I don't know, what research is there to do? So how do you distinguish what stuff to kind of research for each role?
Well, let's say, for example, you are a lawyer in a court trial. There's so much on YouTube that you can watch just to see the manner, particularly when they're like giving the final, what's it called? The final...
Like verdict?
Not the verdict, the final... gosh, I wish one of us was a lawyer. The
we just play one on TV, okay, Charles.
The final speech you give to the jury before they make their decision.
Right.
And I've had quite a few of those, and it's just great to actually watch a real attorney and how they work, as opposed to watching somebody who's playing an attorney on TV.
Yes.
And the other thing I do that I absolutely think you should do is if you're doing, let's say you're doing Will Trent. Maybe you're not familiar with Will Trent. Look at the names of the characters on the sides. Look that up. See those people's faces. And when you're actually doing the scene, even if it's Jesse Malinowski taping you, suddenly, if it's a female character, you are her. I see her face. I hear her voice. Because I will also watch on YouTube a snippet just to get the sound of their voices in my head, the rhythm of it. All this it's almost like visualization.
Yeah. No, that's... I haven't heard that one, Charles. That one's really good. And this, because that does change based on what you look like. Our brain is kind of just stereotyping you in some fashion. Either I like you based on how you look, or I'm intimidated by you based on how you look, or I'm attracted to you based on how you look. And so immediately your brain is going to go to that. So if you actually know just at least what they look like and who you're talking to, that really will change things. That's really good.
Even the rhythm of their voices, the timbre of their voices, just everything about it. To me, dialogue is like music. There's a rhythm to it. And if you hear the rhythm of their voice and you just work into that rhythm with it, then I think it's a great audition. It just comes across so much more natural. It sounds like a conversation, which is the way it's supposed to sound.
Yeah. So your first credit back was with Anthony Hopkins. Do you have a favorite show that you were in, or time that you worked with someone?
Maybe one of my most recent ones, May December.
Yeah.
It's now out on Netflix. I got to spend 8 hours with Natalie Portman and director Todd Haynes, and actually, I was more excited to meet, or I should say, nervous to meet the director Todd
Right.
Haynes than I was Natalie. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's Natalie, but Todd, wow.
Yeah.
Because I love his stuff, and they couldn't have been nicer. It was just first off, to see Natalie work. It's so relaxed, you know. And I tell a lot of actors that just relax, and she was the epitome of relax. And you're going, well, she's not doing much, but then when you see her the actual film, you're going, wow. She doesn't have to do a lot.
And so, I mean, it's so easy to say just relax, but
Yes.
were there maybe specific things that you saw her on set doing that, we could try to steal? Like whether it be like just hanging out reading a book, like just, I don't know, meditating. I don't know. Like, was there anything kind of specific that it's like, yeah, she just seems so relaxed and chill?
No, all I can say is experience. That's all I could say.
Right.
Now, our scene wasn't like, heavy, traumatic, like the one I do in Color Purple. So I didn't see that side of her. It was a pretty relaxed, she's asking me questions because she's, researching. So, no, and just the way she presented herself. Now, I can't tell you one thing. So there's a particular part of the scene where she's asking if she could see a storeroom in the back where an incident happened. And I'm hesitant at first. And so Todd Haynes said to her, okay, in this take, Natalie, I want you to really turn it on. And she leaned over the counter and she went, please. I mean, talk about just, turn it on.
Yeah.
So she was just wonderful to work with and just to observe.
I love it. And, you talked about how you're more excited about the director.
Yes.
And I feel like that just immediately goes to your wealth of knowledge when it comes to the film and TV industry. Everyone. I mean, Candy and I will have a conversation with Charles, and then all of a sudden Charles will begin talking and start saying names that we've never even heard of. And I'm like, man, Charles, you're so educated. You know everybody. And can you talk about how you find that to be important within your career of just being so educated within film and television, just like so much?
Well, yeah, getting back to the research.
Right, exactly,
Besides, boy, I look up those directors. I see what they've done before because pretty much the style is going to be the same. And that's one thing. That's one reason why I know so many directors and their work. I knew Todd Haynes' work because I absolutely love his work. So, I think that is very important to nailing an audition.
Awesome.
Same thing with the producers.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the producers as well, what they've done before.
When you look it up, though, are you looking for anything specific, or how, like, what are you grabbing from it? And I guess I want to know, is it beyond the like, if I look at this producer's projects, a lot of the projects seem to be in this tone. Like, is that all you're doing, or are you doing beyond that?
Well, if I am auditioning for something and that producer has cast me before, I've been in a project of his, you bet I'm going to put it in the actor's access notes.
Yes.
Same thing with the director. I have an audition that I'm going to do this weekend, and they said they want somebody who's able to do stunts, and I've done stunts. So
Great.
Whatever you might be able to glean out of that might actually give you an edge, use it.
That's exactly right. That is so good. And I think that's something that we're probably overlooking in our journey is like, instead of just like, oh my God, like Kevin Hart's in this project and being excited about that, you're like, who's in this project that I can be connected to in some way? What is in this audition that makes me the best, and really searching for that and then shedding a light and putting a spotlight on it. That's so good. I feel like, Charles, you are a yes man. That's part of your a zillion credits that you have. Can you talk about how you really have felt like that's served you here in the Southeast? I feel like it doesn't matter what the role is, one line or guest star or recurring. Like, you're like, I'm in, let's do it.
Right. A lot of people use the word networking. I don't. I use relationship building. I'm willing to take on a SAG project that's $125 a day, but I do research it first. For example, there was a film I did a couple of years ago called Beast. And through my research, I found out that originally it was a short film called Krista that won a bunch of awards, including something at South by Southwest. So I thought these guys had game, the Madden brothers. And then I found out this feature film was going to be produced by Alec Baldwin. And so I went, okay. There's something going on here that even Alex really believes in these guys. So I was willing to do, a day's work for $1.25 because I saw that as, an investment in my future when these guys do something else that's, big. Because I think they are going to do something big. They're really good. Not to mention, I just had a fantastic time on that. And the 4 people I've worked with, we're here locally, we're all friends still. And that was about 3 or 4 years ago.
Hey, if you're an actor and you're enjoying this episode, we want to serve your acting journey in a bigger way. So we want to let you know that we offer a free class every single month. We do it on a lot of different things, but most importantly, we make sure that it is so value-packed that you have no idea how it's actually for free. But it's our gift to you to know that we are so passionate to help actors on their journey, and more specifically, help you on your journey. So you'll find a link in the description. All you gotta do is put in your email and we will send you our next upcoming free class so you can get so much value. So do not miss out on that. Again, you'll find the link in the description. Enjoy the rest of the episode. That's awesome. How do you distinguish then because I like that you put it in as investment, maybe you're not making a lot of money, but instead you're investing. I think that's a great way to look at it because you don't know what that relationship ends up being down the line. So true. For an actor that's maybe starting out, and when I say starting out, I mean, maybe you have an agent, but maybe you haven't got that first credit, or maybe you do have a couple credits, how do you distinguish the investments that work and don't work, and maybe more importantly, the ones that maybe burn you, not letting that ruin the outlook?
Well, I think it gets back to just researching who they are, what they've done. Let's say, for example, I've done some SCAD projects, and I know some of my clients through the mentorship have gotten some SCAD projects, and I always say to them, know who their faculty professor is, because what you need to get in writing is, I can have a clip for my reel. Yeah. And if they don't give it to you, you have somebody to fall back on, which is their professor.
Oh man, that's smart.
So, if you're going to do a film, don't get a gentleman's agreement that they're going to give you a clip. Get it in writing.
Yeah, that's a smart. That's I didn't. That's a good one, Charles. I haven't even done that one.
Because whether you have an agent or not, usually it's like you go to Actors Access, and there's these small independent films or short films that have these auditions, and you really don't know anything about them. So you just need to take control, basically. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. And you're so right. It's the taking control of your career and understanding that you are the CEO of your business. We all come together, right, at different times, and we all work with each other in different ways, but you take control. You're the one running your business. You're running your show.
Exactly.
So Charles, you also do meditation and yoga. Can you talk about how that has served you personally and also professionally?
Well, for meditation, it has really grounded me, not only as a human being, but as an actor. That's
You're such a grounded actor.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I believe it.
yeah.
So wait, what meditations are you doing so we can all do this, Charles?
And by the way, let me just say I do it with a free app.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Insight Timer.
Okay.
So you don't have to pay. There's plenty of ways to get meditation for free.
Nice.
It also has relaxed me in a way whenever particularly with a callback, any kind of callback, I'm perfectly fine with. I'm raring to go,
Yeah.
rather than any kind of hesitation. The same thing with breath work and meditation. I can give you an example. I was having a colonoscopy, which, get over the age of 50.
It happens. All right.
It happens. And so they got me into the room, had the IV in, the whole thing. And the nurse says, the doctor is in a meeting, so she won't be here for like 30 minutes. So I'm like, great.
Jeez.
So they left me. They left me in there. So I noticed that they had me hooked up probably with my finger to a heart monitor. And I could hear the sound of my heartbeat. And I went, I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to do some breath work, just,
Yeah.
calming breath work, and see if I can bring my heart rate down. And it went from like 80s to 60s
Wow.
within a matter of 5 minutes.
Wow, that's awesome.
So, and I use breath work when I'm on set. There's sometimes like you might be on a set where, I'll give you an example, The Resident, where they all know each other. So it's a little cliquey.
Mm-hmm.
They maybe not invite you into their circle, and all of a sudden you're like, oh God, they don't like me, which you shouldn't do anyway. You're there to do a job.
Right.
You're not there to make friends. But there's a couple of times when I felt that way, and I just do the breath work, and it relaxes me back and reminds me why I'm there.
That's awesome. Do you ever use it because I feel like the yoga, the breath work, it really gets you into your body.
Yes.
And so do you ever use that in preparation for character development?
Body awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It gives you some ideas of how a character would move or react, or maybe do some sort of, hand work or something, like they're perfectly calm until you look at their hands, the little things like that. Mm-hmm. Ticks.
Yeah. How do you decide to put some of that into the characters? Like, you mentioned like this hand thing, right? They're perfectly calm except for their hands.
Right.
How do you decide I'm going to give that to XYZ character?
Well, I guess it just depends on the character. No, particularly, and I don't do it if it doesn't feel natural.
Right, like
to the character.
Yeah, so you would be looking for some type of evidence that would indicate it makes sense. You're not doing it arbitrarily.
No. And not doing specifically, like, put the pencil behind my ear at this particular line, that kind of thing. If it doesn't come organically, I don't do it. But yeah, when I'm reading the sides over and over, I start feeling things about the character. Their body movements, which again, that probably has to do with meditation and yoga. Being more aware of my body, but now being more aware of what a character's body would be like when it comes to movement.
Right. You started off, like you said, in theater, and I think, have you done like almost like every equity theater in Atlanta? Have you been a part of? I think like
just about. Not Alliance yet.
Not Alliance. All right, Alliance. Charles is coming for you. Can you talk about the difference in preparation between your film and TV work and theater work?
Well, I guess the first obvious thing is that an actor has to play to the back row of the theater. TV and film, it's much more internal. You have to pull that back. In fact, the first film I did in Los Angeles, I think it was 24. I had never taken TV film classes before.
Really?
And now I'm in front of a freaking camera. So I thought, okay, you got to pull it back. You got to pull it back. So when I watched the film, I went, oh my God, I pulled it back so much. There's like nothing there, just
you're just you're just dead inside.
just dead inside. There's just this walking zombie. Now, I have to admit, I was on the set for 3 weeks, and you could tell by the end I was like really cool. But where was I going with this?
The difference in preparation of film and TV and theater. Yeah.
And the one thing, with theater, you have rehearsals maybe for 3 weeks, and then you have performances for 3 weeks. And one of the things I really had to adjust to was all of a sudden, this audition is due in 2 days.
Right.
So suddenly, you don't have the benefit of 3 weeks rehearsals. You have to work on developing this character and understanding it and performing it, so to speak, for the audition. You don't have the advantage of seeing who the character is across from you for 3 weeks. You're now talking to some reader that you just gave them the script 5 minutes ago. So that was quite a learning curve for me to get up to speed.
Right. I feel like most actors start off in theater. And by the way, if you didn't, doesn't mean anything. But then they come into film and TV, and then I feel like they get stuck in a way that they're like, I'd love to go back to theater. I'd love to do that. And you've been able to juggle that really, really well, going back and forth. What advice do you have for an actor that also wishes they could get back into theater, do a production, get back on stage, hear the applause? How I guess, one, how do you juggle it? And two, do you have any advice for specifically in Atlanta getting involved in the theater industry?
Well, first off, I have not juggled it well.
Okay. Yeah.
You need to have somebody like Bethany Lynn Mendenhall on this
Yeah.
on this podcast. It ain't me. I haven't done a show in maybe 4 or 5 years.
Really? Has it been that long?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Unfortunately, and sadly, what has happened, which I think could also happen if you get out of the TV film industry for a while, is the theaters have forgotten you, or I will see them somewhere and they go, are you still interested in theater? Because you're doing so much TV film now. So I'm thinking, okay, I need to cut down on what I say on social media, because they're getting this impression like, oh, he doesn't have time for us anymore because he's a TV film actor now, and which is not the case. So I really think if you get into the business and you want to get back into theater, you really need to keep those connections open with the directors of these theater that you're still interested in. Go to their plays; they're usually there. Particularly if they're directing them, go the preview, go opening night, go sometime early when the director is still there, just to shake hands with them or her and say, hey, I'd still love to work with you.
Yeah, that's so smart. I mean, and that goes to that business side of things, is checking in with people. And then, would you recommend I guess keeping in touch with them in a way of like what you're up to? I'm like, oh, we would think like, hey, catch me. You mentioned The Resident, catch me on The Resident. But do you think actually that could maybe hold you back? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yes, I do.
So then if you're checking in with them and what would you be checking in about if you're doing the film and TV stuff and that's what you would be reporting, then what are things that you could maybe keep in contact with them for?
Oh, you mean just in general?
Yeah.
I don't think I need to talk about TV film career. I think they know me from a theater aspect, and I need to reassure them that I'm still interested. So I'd say checking in every month or so. And by the way, a lot of these places, if you go to their website, they do have general auditions. So if you are new to the business, that's also a good way to break in. But yeah, just again, it gets back to relationship building or maintaining a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, the relationship building, and it's so important. And, we teach it within the mentorship that you had mentioned earlier. And you're one of our mentors that I mean, I just love our working actor mentorship so much, because I think it teaches you that business aspect, that life stuff as well. Can you talk about how that's affected you also within your journey and being able to help aspiring actors, and maybe a favorite thing that you like to teach your mentees?
Well, when you first asked me to do that, I thought, what do I have to give to actors? What is it that I can talk to them about? And I found out that actually I have quite a bit I can talk. Maybe too much sometimes. First off, I love the actors that I work with. So far, everyone I've worked with is just like a sponge. They're anxious to take in this knowledge and use it. It's been a wonderful experience. And in addition to that, I've learned a lot about myself as well. It's kind of reinforced some of the things I do. Because when you speak it to somebody else, it's amazing. You listen to yourself for the first time and go, yeah, I do know what I'm talking about. I do know what I'm doing.
Yeah, or you're like, oh, I gotta do that. You're like,
Yes.
sometimes it's a reminder.
Because sometimes they give me some questions that trip me up, and I'm like, I'll have to get back to you on that one, or I have to research it. Let's say I had one of the actors who, she's a very good actor, but lacked self-confidence. So I couldn't just come up with an answer. Oh, this is, do this.
Just be confident.
Just be confident.
Yeah.
So I actually had to do some research. And through that research, I thought, oh, yeah, there's some stuff here I could use in everyday life.
Yeah. Is there a common denominator, whether maybe it is confidence or something that you see within the mentorship that you really enjoy teaching, or that you think is really important within an actor's journey?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Be comfortable with yourself. I've had too many people say, well, there's too many white girls in their 30s for me to make it. I think it's the idea that you have to understand that you yourself are unique, and you need to embrace that. Somebody asked me the other day, well, so Charles, you're going to get some plastic surgery, take these bags out from under your eyes? I went, no. These bags get me jobs.
Yeah.
This face is okay the way it is. So I think that's the one thing that I think people need to embrace, their uniqueness.
Yeah. And it's so true. It's understanding that no one can be you better than you. I remember I learned that in a class that I took in New York so many years ago. And the class was a long class, but for the first 2 hours, all we did was audition and watch the tapes back and forth. Mm-hmm. And no notes were given. And I was like, this class sucks. And then after we watched everyone, he said, how many of you think you figured it out? You knew what the casting director was going to want to see? And most of the class raised their hand, me included. Oh yeah, I definitely got it. He's like, who didn't think about that at all? Just did what you wanted to do. A couple people raised their hands. Coincidentally enough, their tapes were better. And he's like, exactly. In you trying to figure it out, you end up doing the same thing as everyone else. And those of you that just bring yourself to it, that's what makes you unique, and that's what makes you stand out in a really powerful way. And another thing and just to kind of bring these thoughts together, when I was in New York, I remember I did some traveling with my school to scout talent, hey, come to the school. And we had a casting director as one of the people that also traveled with us sometimes. And I remember he said something and I still remember to this day. He's like, often we don't know what we want. We need you to show us. And so it's your point so well that you just have to be comfortable with yourself, be confident that that's your superpower, that that's your secret weapon, and they don't know what they want. So do you so well that they're like, I want you.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about this before the podcast, that I have this audition coming up.
Yeah.
I won't say what the character is, but I was like, I don't see myself playing that. I see Mike Panuski or somebody playing that. And then we talked about it and said, well, but I will put a different spin on it than Mike will put on it. So, give him something a little different.
Exactly.
And I was mentioning that when I was in Los Angeles, this casting director, she would always bring me in for these roles, and I'd walk into this audition room, and all the guys would be in their 20s and good looking, and then there's me. And she says, no, I'm bringing them in as a ringer because the cast directors really don't know what they want. I'm trying to break it up.
I mean, and that's normally if that. I wish today we could like see everybody's self tape, or at least see who's like going out for it, because I actually feel like that's better. If everybody looks the same and you're the one that looks different, I feel like it gives you a better shot because you immediately stand out. You're immediately unique.
Right. And speaking of them not knowing what they want, Barry Jenkins, the director of Moonlight, he has said that before. He says, "I don't know what I want until it walks into the room."
Right. We have to show them. And that's the cool thing is like, that we're this big puzzle, and all the puzzle pieces come together. And that's our job as actors, even in the audition room, is you're one puzzle piece in this grand picture. Even if you don't get it, you're revealing to the director, the producers, what it is and what it needs to look like for the final picture to happen.
And again, I can't tell you how many times, Underground Railroad, Barry Jenkins being one, where I went in for one character and got cast in something else. In that particular case, I went in for a character that was a day player. Very nice scene, 2 to 3 pages, one-on-one with one of the leads. And so when I got the call from my agent, from Jacob, he says, you've been cast as Mr. Ford. And I went, who the hell is Mr. Ford? I didn't do that. And I thought, okay, must be some like one-liner. It actually was 3 weeks' work.
Wow.
It was, and he just, like he said, he doesn't know what he wants until he walks into the room. I didn't even audition for that particular role, but he felt I was right for it, and actually he was right. So
yeah, and that's the thing, us as actors, right? Even when you said we were talking about this earlier, you're like, I don't know if I'm like quite right for this. It's like, well, there might be these other roles that they're like, we'll get the general gist from everyone that auditions from that, and we can cast 3 roles from these auditions. Like, we just never know what's going on behind the scenes. We just have to trust the process, be grateful for our opportunities, and take every single one that we can with as much vigor and tenacity as we can.
One of the wildest things was when I auditioned for What Men Want, a comedy, and this guy, if you've seen the film, there's inner thoughts, and Taraji P. Henson can now read men's thoughts.
Yes.
And this guy's inner thoughts were, I'm so effing fat, and my waistband is so tight, and I'm going, okay, I'm not a fat person, but obviously Feldstein Paris thinks I should do this, so
right.
I'm going to do it. So it was interesting. I started thinking myself, this is kind of sick, as Karen Carpenter. That Karen Carpenter truly thought she was fat.
Right.
And ultimately, she died from that because she got too thin. And so I thought of myself as that way, somebody who was anorexic, who thought they were fat, but they really weren't fat. And so I went in the callback and did the exact same dialogue, thinking this in my mind. I booked it, and when I got the final script, they switched it to I had a cocaine habit.
Oh, yeah.
So they changed the role based on my body type, because I went in as supposedly a fat person, and
yeah.
they made me a thinner person.
But that's the thing. We never know what's happening behind the scenes, and so we just got to trust it. So there's so many stories. Thank you so much for sharing that one. I know that that's going to help a lot of people, because unfortunately, I think so many of us, all of us probably at some point, we struggle with that. And so we have to remember that those stories happen, those different things are happening behind the scenes. Charles, you and I like to travel. Yes. We've both been on Viking cruises, which I love. How do you think that helps influence your life, your career, in giving you balance, maybe even helping you connect with other characters that are in different scripts? How important is traveling to you, but maybe just like life?
Yeah, well, obviously work-life balance is so important in anything you do, even if you're an accountant. That is just so important. Tunnel vision on just your profession. I've seen too many people, not necessarily in the acting business, but they retire and they don't know what to do with their lives. They just absolutely do not know, because they've tunnel visioned that particular job they've had for 30, 35
like too many eggs in one basket.
Yeah, they let life pass them by. Like John Lennon said, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. Which is so true. So I think something like travel, see what other cultures, other worlds are doing. Um, I really enjoy that. I think it reminds me that I'm just a little small speck.
I was just about to say that. It makes you feel small because
this
it's so big out there.
And getting back to auditions, it's like this isn't the most important thing in the world when you're auditioning. You're a little small speck. So just keep that in perspective. That this is not a life-shattering moment. You're not the hydrogen bomb that's going to go off in the room, and it just made me more humble, I guess. I want to say, knowing that it's not that important.
It's such a good point. I did this training where they talked about perspectives.
Yes.
And so normally we're in the you perspective. It's just like I'm looking at you and that's it. Or whoever's here, I'm looking at that person. That's the perspective. And then can we get out to like the we perspective of like stepping outside and seeing, well, what am I doing? Am I doing anything maybe to make you feel good, to offend you? Also, I can also see you at the same time. I'm looking at both perspectives, right? And it kind of continues to go out. But then the final one is the global perspective. And the global perspective meaning like, how big of a deal is this in the global perspective? So I think that helps so much when it comes to dealing with stress, when there's different things going on in your life that maybe you're like, I don't know if I can deal with this. I don't know if I can juggle this. I don't know if I can do all these things. If you can step out to that global perspective and you're like, what? How big of a deal is this in my whole life, in the whole world, just like you said? And so, yeah, I love that you brought that up because it is such a good point that I think can help calm you. And then you throw in that breath work that we were talking about earlier and you're good to go.
Exactly. And also, there's some characters on those Viking cruises. Use your observation skills. You could use some of that later.
For sure. Yeah, Candy and I are on the Viking cruise, right? We're the youngest people on the cruise by like a long shot. And yeah, those people are partying. They're doing it. We're going to bed. They're like still partying it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of like the loud Americans, the typical loud Americans. You're going, oh God.
Yeah.
Please. That's not what we're like.
We're totally. Well, Charles, this brings us to our spotlight sign off. 5 questions to end strong. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
Let's start the round.
Yeah, let's do it. Number 1, what's something you're super grateful for today?
Besides my having this resurgence of a career later in life, it's my health, it's my friends, it's the community that Atlanta is, and I am also talking about the entertainment community. It's so different from Los Angeles. I feel like I'm loved and respected.
You are, Charles. What is a movie, show, book, or event that changed the entire trajectory of your life?
It would be the film They Shoot Horses, Don't They? 1969, Sidney Pollack, directed. Jane Fonda's the lead. If you have not seen it, it is on YouTube. It's about the marathons that took place in the 1930s where you just danced until the last person standing. And I was 14. My mother dropped me off at the theater. I saw this, and when I got back in the car, she said, I was unusually quiet because I usually talk a lot. And she's going, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, I think I just saw a film that's changed my life, because I had never seen a film that had a social message before until that film.
In how, like, what did it tell you, I guess, is the question. Like
that a film can be more than just entertainment. It can be educational. It can
move you,
maybe cause you to take some action in your life or for the world.
I love that. And so true, yeah. How old were you?
14.
14. Very cool. Very cool. Did that movie, and was that like a big contributor to like, I think I want to do that, or you think those were separate? Or maybe you were already into the arts at that point?
Yeah, I started community theater in Lake Charles, Louisiana at age 12. So,
Oh, okay. All right then.
so I was already into it for 2 years at that point.
Gotcha. All right then. Question 3. What's something within your daily routine that you really cherish and love?
Besides coffee in the morning?
It could just be
Oh
coffee.
my goodness. Oh my goodness. No, the very first thing before the coffee is I will open my bedroom door and my cats will come in.
The cats aren't allowed in.
No, because they're too, they're night owls.
Okay.
And they'll just come streaming in, and I'll pet them and everything. I think that it's probably, I like to think it's love, but it's probably because they're just hungry.
I think it's both, Charles.
I hope so.
They might be hungry, but I think it's love too. Question number 4. What's something that you're currently trying to improve in your life?
Well, I got, the yoga meditation things down, and I had a pretty routine going with, exercise, weight training, 6,000 steps a day, 60,000 steps a day.
16?
Yeah, I wish. That'd be easy. No,
I was like, whoa.
no, 66,000 steps a day. And I just kind of gotten out of that. So I'm not saying it's a New Year's resolution, but it's something I really am going to strive to get back into because, at this point, I'm not going to be the hunk I was meant to be. It ain't happening. But to stay healthy means I will get to work for many years from now. So that's the goal, to work for quite a few years.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's so much harder for us to get started when we get stopped. And I don't know why that is, because you felt good when you were doing it. Yep. And so, I think it's just start with one day at a time, just one day, get more steps than you did yesterday and build on that. And before you know it, you have momentum and it becomes easier and easier for you.
Right. I think I'm one of those people like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. And then like, oh God, I'm so sore. I don't want to do that anymore. So you're right. Baby steps.
Yeah, just baby steps. A little bit better than yesterday, and that'll build on the next. All right, Charles, last question. And that is, based on your life, and if you wanted the listeners to get just one piece of advice through this, what would you want to make sure they get?
I think it's a famous quote from the 1970s TV series Kung Fu.
Okay. You see what I'm talking about, everyone? Like, you hear this knowledge coming out?
It's patience, little grasshopper. About be patient with what's going on, in your life. Don't make it a marathon. What's the quote about?
It's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. And, again, back to that tunnel vision, just enjoy your life while it's happening. For example, I have so many people that go, well, I'm going to move to LA and I'm going to be an actor. And I'm like, okay, but there's mountains, there's ocean. Enjoy what LA and California has to offer, not just TV film.
Yeah, that's what I always say to a lot of actors that consider that. I'm like, if you want to go to LA because you've always wanted to move out there and, you hate the weather wherever you are and you really want nice weather, like, I get that, like, go for that reason. But if it's only for film and TV, really, really balance and look at everything. And it's not what it used to be. It's not that stereotype of that's the only way that it works anymore. Now you can be in so many different places and make it happen. Mm-hmm. So, well, patience, grasshopper. I love it. Charles Green, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you being here.
This was fun. Thank you, Jesse.
You're so welcome. Everyone, if you haven't subscribed, this is your signal to do so. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.